Hey guys, welcome back to the BuzWeaver channel. And in our top stories today from the AP, man accused of killing 2 Israeli embassy staffers in D.C. charged with murder of federal officials. Now, as we have seen, there has been some contentious news lately, particularly surrounding Joe Biden, as you guys know. And so some of the key words and probably the topic and titles of these have been buried in the algorithm of YouTube. So I anticipate that this may as well, considering the contentious nature and information that we're learning, and just based upon what I've seen doing simple Google searches for or on this topic. So 2 staff members of the Israeli embassy in Washington, a young couple on the verge of becoming engaged, were fatally shot Wednesday evening while leaving an event at a Jewish museum, and the suspect yelled, "Free, free Palestine," after he was arrested, police said. Now, there's a reason why I wanted to mention that, because that is the common phrasing, mantra, used by these radical leftist protesters. And when I did a search on this, and I did a deep dive, many of these articles did not mention that the individual, well, some of them didn't even mention the person's name. They were so generic. They didn't mention what that individual was saying, because this is a common slogan. It is a common mantra of the radical left that are right now on college campuses too. Washington. The Justice Department has brought federal charges against a man accused of fatally shooting 2 staff members of the Israeli embassy in Washington as they were leaving an event at a Jewish museum. These were not just random individuals, for example, here in D.C. You know, there's individuals out there. This is very significant in our current climate, whether it's political or international. This is massive. Elias Rodriguez, 31, of Chicago, was charged Thursday with murder of federal officials and other crimes. Authorities have said Rodriguez walked into the museum after the shooting, was detained by security guards, and began chanting, "Free, free Palestine." Right? So the video is already going to be buried in the algorithm now. So all of you guys that are here, of course, you can choose to hit the like button, share, and comment, because these do help. But I just get a feeling that this is not going to go very much. So this is going to be just between me and you guys who happen to watch the channel and or click the link. The 2 people killed, identified as 𝐀𝐦𝐚𝐳𝐬𝐬, an Israeli citizen, and Sarah Milgram of American, were a young couple about to be engaged, according to 𝐀𝐢𝐧𝐿, the Israeli ambassador to the U.S. Now, of course, this is pronounced with a Hebrew pronunciation. I just pronounce it the way we do here in the United States. The stunning attack on Wednesday evening prompted Israeli missions to beef up their security and lower their flags to half-staff. It came as Israel has launched another major offensive in the Gaza Strip in a war with Hamas. Of course, as people know, that has heightened tensions across the Middle East and internationally, and as anti-Semitic acts are on the rise. So the tension is there. And very much like what's going on with Joe Biden in some areas, a lot of it is being suppressed and tamped down. And like I said, I did a deep dive on a lot of this, and it was just, in many of these articles, there was nothing that mentioned what the individual said, what Rodriguez said, or even his name, as a matter of fact. And so here we have on X, you guys can follow me there on X. All my social media is down below the video. This is the reason that it is important Trump be allowed to deport the leaders of protest. Judges are blocking him. Israeli embassy staffers 𝐀𝐦𝐚𝐳𝐬𝐬 and Sarah Milgram, ID'd as couple fatally shot by terrorists who yelled, "Free, free Palestine," near D.C.'s Capitol Jewish Museum. Is what I was going to say, museum, yeah. So here's the lovely couple there that were going to be engaged. And then, of course, D.C. assassin who murdered the 2 Israeli embassy staffers is Elias Rodriguez of Chicago. After being arrested, he yelled, "Free, free Palestine," as we just mentioned, and told police where he ditched the gun. Seems the pro-Hamas protesters have morphed into Hamas. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the reason I'm being hyperbolic with this language, as they are, is this is the way it would have been written if it was, if the political parties were reversed. Because as you see here, when you go to any of these other ones, now they do mention 2 Israeli embassy staffers killed, man accused of killing 2 Israeli embassies, and it's just very generic, right? It's just very generic. Nothing to see here. We don't want to connect the dots to any of the protests that are going on college campuses that they do with everything with Donald Trump. Every little thing that Donald Trump does has a connect the dot or some reinterpretation by the left to redefine words and language and phrasing to suit their political narrative. And yet here we have a very serious situation with a couple here. 2 Israeli embassy staffers, as we just saw. So they both work for the staff there. I don't know what this video is here.
I came in looking really distressed, and we thought that he just like needed help.
We thought he was experiencing violence or something
and
outside.
He just needed like safe shelter, so he comes in. And
so people were calming him down, bringing him water, taking care of him. Little did we know he was somebody that executed people in cold blood. He was the shooter? He was the shooter,
yeah.
Once the police originally showed up, he's like, I did this, I'm unarmed. He pulls out a red keffiyeh and he's like, I did this for Gaza, free Palestine. There's only one solution, intifada revolution. And he just...
There you have it. There you have a couple that was there, obviously witnessing or were part of what they saw in the aftermath and saying that Rodriguez was being consoled and taken care of, I guess, because they thought maybe he was a victim of it or was whatever interpretation there is there. But nonetheless, ladies and gentlemen, the escalation continues. And, of course, here on the BuzWeaver channel, we spare no expense in looking into and diving into things. Now, of course, I don't consider myself a journalist or a professional in these particular matters. I'm just simply an individual that has an opinion. Spent many years but being part of politics and working in law. So I do have a passing interest at best. But I do like to share these videos and content with you guys. Again, this isn't like a professional level thing, but I do like to do deep dives and give analysis and give an understanding right here on the BuzWeaver channel. We take difficult, we take the complicated, we take tumult, we take the confusion, we break it down into very simple terms and very simple language for everyday individual people. Common sense people. What were the number of people killed or injured during the George Floyd riots and subsequent riots after these events? And as you know, there's no mystery. We have covered this topic quite a lot. And, of course, many of it got buried as well in the algorithm. Casualties and injury overview. It is difficult to provide an exact number of people killed or injured as the events occurred over weeks and hundreds of locations. Weeks and hundreds of locations, as we have talked about here. Estimated fatalities, at least 25 to 30 people died during the protest and related unrest in the U.S., according to multiple sources. That would be The Guardian, Forbes, and The Washington Post, which is why I like ChatGPT. It's becoming pretty much my search engine now because it just aggregates all this and puts it all together. Gives you links and information and outlines and diagrams and charts and graphs and these sorts of things. So these deaths include protesters, law enforcement officers, bystanders, people involved in looting or criminal activities, which is what they were doing. It was rioting. Some notable incidents. So we have David Dorn, a retired St. Louis police captain, was shot and killed while protecting a store from looters. You may remember it was a liquor store, I believe, to be more specific. And then we have Sequoia Turner, an 8-year-old girl, was shot in Atlanta, here where I live, near a protest site. That's right. She was shot and killed near a Wendy's. And here, the parents of 8-year-old girl killed during Rayshard Brooks' protest sued Atlanta leaders and Wendy's. They were suing both. So here's the parents. We deserve justice, the child's mother said. Someone needs to be held accountable. And she died as a result of the riots that were going on. It also included Rayshard Brooks. I believe Rayshard was pulled over and then shot by police officers. It was one of those situations where I think he was pulled over for DUI or something. I think it was. He was DUI, and everything was very calm. And then suddenly he started taking off and running, and then he turned, of course, and pointed a gun at officers, to which then they fired and killed him, if memory serves me correct. And then, of course, you guys might remember the Washington Post. This gets rarely mentioned. The May 29th riots in D.C. That's right. Protesters' breach of temporary fence near White House complex prompted Secret Service to move Trump to secure bunker. Oh, they laughed about this across the media. They laughed about it on the left. Oh, we made Donald Trump go into a bunker. I mean, it was just like laughable to them. And here was some of the events from that protest. This was completely buried. Now, granted, the Washington Post covered it, but this was buried during this time. It's funny because one of my leftist classmates from school back in the day keeps telling me about cult this and cult that, yet here we are hearing the chants and the mantras and the things that they use. And here's what was amazing to me. 2 of the people who were arrested said they were stunned by the idea that their actions prompted the abrupt relocation of the president. Now, this was just sad. It's just irritating and annoying to me. I pulled it up in archive just in case it was going to give me the business here. But it's absolutely extraordinary what we see here, ladies and gentlemen. And exactly what one of these individuals was saying here. This was the reason why Trump is deporting these individuals. There's a reason for it, right? We have the left who likes to define everything. And, of course, many of them are ensconced in the media. So they're going to be able to get their message out the way they want to because they're controlling the narrative. They have the airways to mention and say whatever they want to say. But this story was, it's not buried, but the details and the information about it are very vague and generic. But as I said, if this were reversed, if the political parties and the actions were reversed, it would be a different story. It would be very much like we saw here in X, the way it's described here. Assassin who murdered 2 Israeli embassy staffers, right? This is the way it would be worded. Yelled "Free Palestine." This is the way it would have all been worded if it were the reverse, right? If it were some MAGA person, right? They would be talking about this whole thing. And we also have to remember Jesse Smollett, you know, there and his whole fictional MAGA country, right? World that he created. And so we have these 2 individuals sadly died as a result of a radical leftist protester, most likely alleged. But I mean, him yelling free Palestine is a clear indicator and probably why a lot of this was buried. But I do want to thank all you guys across NewTech, that's BitChute, Rumble, and Odyssey, for your guys' continued support, particularly now on these particular subjects that we're covering. And maybe one day we'll be able to talk about these topics and it be something the algorithm will not necessarily try to suppress. So your guys' likes, shares, and comments across all the videos are greatly appreciated. And I am still experimenting with many of these things because of the algorithm. There has been some algorithmic changes that have helped the channel and others that, of course, are still lingering because, you know, the leftism is still there. Despite all that's going on, especially the cover-up now for Joe Biden and all the things we're learning about the cover-up about Joe Biden. But I do want to thank all of you guys across NewTech, as well as all of you guys here on YouTube for your guys' continued support. Below this video, you can find the various social media links that I belong to. And, of course, my affiliate links down there. That would be Trust Zone and Amazon. You guys can click on those and check those out. It does help out the channel, but of course your likes, your shares, and your comments do help out. But this will probably be buried deep in the algorithm nonetheless. Appearing there on the screen, that'd be the channel icon. You guys can click on that to subscribe as well as select notifications. That way you know when there's content here on the channel. And I will see all you guys in the next video.